guys, thank you for being here. Can you guys all hear me okay? Do I need a mic? Yeah, I got a booming voice, right? That was a joy when I worked at TGI Fridays. They would make me go and sing happy birthday to every table, which was awesome and embarrassing to people. I don't know if you've ever had that happen in a restaurant. I dread that myself. I love torturing other people. My favorite moment is we went out clapping towards a table, and the guy gets up and walks to the bathroom, and we just clap following right into the bathroom. Probably could have gotten fired, but that didn't happen, so it's okay. Welcome. Welcome. So thank you so much for being here. Before we get into today's talk, which I hope you'll enjoy, I wanted to go back to where it all began for me. For me as a youth minister, I had the opportunity to take a group of youth to Washington, D.C. And when we were in Washington, D.C., we did inner city service for the poorest of the poor. And we got to overlap a ginormous White House. Some of you guys might think you've been there before. I doubt you have. This house was Mother Teresa of Calcutta's favorite house. She was given the property, and her and the Missionaries of Charity, they used this house to take care of those who were homeless, who were dying of cancer or AIDS or just other ailments and had nobody else to look out for. So we spent the day at this house helping them do different landscaping tasks. And during one part of the day, I got the opportunity that I'll never forget. I met a woman who was actually close friends with Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Walked with her, prayed with her, saw Christ in and around her, witnessed stuff that I'll only read in books. And this woman shared with me some stories that I've held tight in my heart. One of my favorite stories she shared, it since came out, that Mother Teresa, before any big task, would gather the sisters or whoever was around in a circle, and they would pray the Memorare 10 times. Mother Teresa considered this an instant novena. So if you guys have something, a big task at hand, I encourage you to try this. She shared stories with me of miracles happening before her own eyes. That if it was in God's will, mountains would move. And it was crazy. So every time I do something big, I try to incorporate that same prayer. Now, I'm not going to ask us to pray all 10. I prayed 9 in the Adoration Chapel just 5 to 10 minutes ago for you, for your kids. And I want you to join me in the 10. Because I feel like we as a community need to uplift our children and ourselves. So if you don't know the prayer, I put the words on top, but if you would join me in starting in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession, was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly to thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. So now we have just invoked God's intercession in this process. That means if this talk falls flat, it's no longer my fault, which is good. That's how prayer works. So thank you guys for being here. The first thing I wanted to do before we got into today's session is I want to know a very simple question for you. Why are you here? Now you might think you know the answer to this. Before we get into, I'm not going to ask you to share, stand up, raise your hand. I'm not going to do that. Why are you here? I want you to look at the person to your right or to your left for 15 seconds. I just want you to look at them in their eyes, hear their name, hear why they're here. And then I want you to share with them your own name and why you're here today, right now. Can we do that? 15 seconds, not long. Ready? Go. How many of you, by show of hands, are here because you got an email or a letter from Father God that said you should show up today? Yeah? How many of you guys are here because you're really excited that your child's getting ready to enter into this process? How many of you are a little bit scared that you might not be able to lead them in this process? We got anybody honest in here? Yeah. I can tell you why I'm here. One, yes, it is my job. And Father Pat would probably fire me if I didn't come today. But I'm here for a different reason. See, I have 3 young children that mean the world to me. And I hear that at some point in life, they're going to stop looking at me for instruction. I hear that at some point in life, my wisdom is not going to be taken by them. And I'm going to need your kids. I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you guys as a faith community to help me in raising those 3 small humans to be the best Christians they can be, to be the best people they can be, and I need you. I'm here mainly for that. I've been very blessed. This past year was my first year here at St. Louis de Montfort. I actually was hired before this talk last year, but they allowed me a month down in Louisville, Kentucky to firm up everything that I had been doing in 10 years' time, so that way those 2 parishes weren't left alone. And I missed this talk. I had no direction. I had no wisdom of where to take this. But this past year, I've gotten the opportunity to get to know some of you in this room pretty well. Others, this is your first time meeting me. My name is Dave Neeson. I hope to share with you an aspect of my life in hopes that I too can get to learn a little bit about you. The way I view ministry is walking with, not dictating towards or at. I want to walk with you. I want to walk with your kids. I want to help you. I want to encourage you. I want to be with you because I'm going to need you when my kids get a little bit older. See, when I was raised at a very young age, sports in my heart meant the world to me. You guys have kids that just love sports, just wake up and want to do that? That was me. I thought God had put me here on earth to be a professional athlete. Then I got a little bit older and realized God played a trick and didn't give me any athletic talent. And I thought, well, that stinks. But I still love sports. So I thought, well, the next best thing, I'm going to be a sports agent. I watched Jerry Maguire. I loved that movie. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. God put me here to do that. I was blessed for 6 months to live in Honolulu, Hawaii, and at that time the Pro Bowl was there. And one day after work out at Alamoana Mall, I ran down to Oahu area, it's Waikiki, where all of the players and everybody hangs out at Duke's restaurant. If you've ever been to Honolulu, it's where they all hang out. And I got the opportunity to sit with like 3 or 4 sports agents. I have no clue to this day how I was given this opportunity or how it happened. I was underage in a bar. Don't really know how it occurred, but it occurred. And I'm sitting with these guys and I said, man, you have a dream job for me. I want to be a sports agent when I get older. And they said, oh, really? That's awesome. What law school do you want to go to? And I went, I need law school. Jerry Maguire didn't talk about that at all. Law school? See, I have a minor case ADD and dyslexia, so academia for me is not my top choice. So getting out of college was a goal, going to more college was not, and the dream of a sports agent died real quickly. But as fate would have it, I ran into some people that changed my life. They were in the middle of a park, right in front of the zoo, flipping bottles and tins, juggling. And I thought, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to learn that. It's called flair bartending. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to see it. I had no TV in Hawaii, so I had no way to entertain myself except taking glass objects and throwing them and hopefully catching them, or cleaning up what I did not catch. And I started to study the art of flair bartending. I came back to the University of Dayton, and I actually became a professional flair bartender. It means I traveled the country. I competed in Vegas and New York and all around on this national circuit, flipping bottles and tins with the same competitors, kind of like NASCAR. You just move and compete against each other. And growing in this fraternity of the FBA. And I thought, this is cool. I was bartending in the biggest nightclubs. I was bartending for the best of the best. I was making a lot of money. But then something just wasn't feeling right. And I knew that this path, while it was fun at the time, wasn't leading me towards contentment. It was just a journey I needed to jump off of. So I decided to move to Louisville, Kentucky, and believe it or not many people want to hire a bartender when that's your only life experience. And the animal shelter, Louisville Metro Animal Services, the only person that gave me a job. I was to coordinate volunteers and events for MAS. If you've ever watched Animal Cops Houston or Animal Cops anywhere, that's what I did. I worked with people during highs and lows. It was a really rough job, but it was that job that kind of guided me in my faith journey. When I was a bartender, faith wasn't really in my life. I bartended Friday night and Saturday night, and on Sunday I slept. It was really hard for me to get up. I made too many excuses to make it a reality. And then when I started working at the animal shelter, I got kind of voluntold to go on a retreat. You guys have retreats similar. You have Chirp here, which is one of the reasons it's on that piece of paper. because I want to encourage this type of stuff in your own life if you haven't tried it. This retreat was called Acts. It's not like it was mind-blowing or earth-shattering, but for the first time, I didn't have my cell phone on me. I didn't have the ability to disconnect whenever I wanted. I didn't have the ability to just run to social media to occupy the dead time. I could actually hear differently. I could see differently. It changed the way I viewed life dramatically. I started going to Mass on Sundays. I started praying the rosary on my way to the shelter because, guys, working at the shelter was tough. I would pray for St. Francis of Assisi to intercede for me that day because I knew I was going to see 60 animals euthanized. I knew that I was going to be a part of somebody dropping off their favorite family friend so that we could take their life because their dog was no longer able to live. I knew I was also going to overlap people who were adopting a kitten and who were just overjoyed. I knew that the life that I was living at the shelter was just a constant roller coaster of emotions. And I needed prayer at that time. It got me through that time. Believe it or not, I even went to daily Mass, Tuesdays, and Incarnation, and even Adoration. Now, don't give me credit for the Adoration. I actually thought daily Mass started at 5, and it didn't. It started at 6. Adoration was from 5 to 6. I thought daily Mass was just, that's how you began, daily Mass. Like, I just came in and knelt and prayed in front of the monstrance. I thought, wow, daily Mass is weird. It's long. It's like 2 hours. So it wasn't any inspiration of my own to attend those, but it was definitely formative in my life. But the most important thing I did after that retreat is I was asked to volunteer for a high school youth ministry program. And I thought, you guys are crazy. What can I give to kids? Do you not know my past? Like, I didn't do church. I wasn't really faith-filled. I don't know if you guys realize who you're talking to, but I don't think I can do this. The youth minister and his wife were adamant. They kept begging me. And finally, I ran out of excuses. So I showed up. 5 kids in a room this size playing pool. That's all youth ministry was. But for an hour or 2 hours every Sunday, I was able to talk to these kids and make them feel less invisible. I taught them how to juggle, because I didn't have any other life talents. I taught them how to do different things so that they could escape maybe the stresses of their own life. And I was doing this for about 6 or 7 months when they finally came to me and said, Dave, would you consider taking over the youth ministry program? Our youth minister has to step away. We'll even pay you if you wanted to do it. And my first reaction, if I'm going to be honest, was, wait a second, you get paid to do this? You get paid? What do you get paid? And they shared it with me, and I shared it with my wife. And now you know the history of it. There's a lot to this story that I don't care to share right now, but God's intervention in my life happened at a time where it needed to happen. 10 years ago, I said yes to being a youth minister. I promise you there's not a job in the world I would take over this. I love what I do. I wake up excited to do what I do. And 1 year ago, almost to the date, I started here at St. Louis de Montfort and gave my kids the opportunity of a very, very strong education and the opportunity to overlap an incredibly loving community here at SLDM. So I'm here because I'm invested in you. I'm here because I know not all of us are on the same journey. Some of us understand our faith and can adequately share about it. Some of us are coming from a world that didn't talk about it and doesn't know how to lead kids in that journey, but it's important. It's an important journey. And so when I was sitting here thinking, how do I go about this talk? And for those who are in the room, who are on the staff or who know, I wrote this thing like 10 times. Every time I wrote this talk, I shredded it. No, I don't like it. I felt like I was going to burden you guys. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be okay. And I thought, what do they want to know about confirmation? Well, you don't have to write any of this down, by the way. It's all in the Bible. If you have ever found yourself defending your Catholic faith to somebody who's not Catholic, happens to me every once in a while working for the church, somebody will ask, why do we do this? If somebody asks you, why is your kid going through confirmation? Aren't they saved? Aren't they baptized? Yeah, they are. Don't you know the Bible? Yeah, we do. The Catholics put it together. It's our book. We got it. Yeah, we know. We know what it is. And then you can say, don't you know the Bible? And they'll go, yeah, I read it all the time. No, you don't. Because in Acts chapter 8, I've realized non-denominational Christians are really good at like 10 or 12 verses to heart. They know them. Learn those in like 4 more. You're going to rock their world. Like, learn those in like 4 more. You're going to be amazing. Acts of the Apostles chapter 8. Why would the apostles leave where they're at to go somewhere when they've already accepted the Word of God and were baptized? Except for the fact that they needed the Holy Spirit. They needed the laying on of hands. Our church has deep tradition. Learn it. It's incredible. If you don't understand it, that's why you have a staff here to guide you. That's why you have priests here to walk with you. And I started thinking, if I'm going to give this talk to you guys, I can't go the theology route. I don't have a master's in theology, but I do know sports. And I thought, man, what if we started looking at athletics and our faith and putting those lenses overlapping one another? What if we looked at faith with the same enthusiasm that we looked at in sports? Sports are awesome. Sports teach us a lot. They teach us that dedication, hard work, sacrifice, that short-term sacrifices can go towards a long-term goal. Sports are amazing. How many of you guys have a kid in a travel team? Sorry, I'll start praying for you now. It's going to be really tough. After you sign your life away and give away, I don't know, your liver, your kidney, whatever they're asking for now for the payments, you're just all gone. You're so all in. And sports ask you, you need this. Without this, your kid's not going to be an NCAA star athlete, and then they're not going to get drafted. If you want to retire early, you got to come with us. You want to live vicariously through your kid, come with us. We bought into this. I bought into this. I was part of that culture. I know what to do. I'm not going to ask you at all to take your kids out of sports. I'm not going to ask you that. I am going to ask you if you could try your hardest to look at faith with the same enthusiasm that you look at your sports teams. Just try that. Try that. You get excited to go to a game, right? You get excited to see your kid participate in something larger than them. Yet when we go to Mass, it's almost like we're attending the funeral of our favorite dog. And we're just like, oh man, we got to bury him again. We got to go again. No, Mass is a celebration. Mass is a celebration that sometimes our actions don't speak to that. Sometimes our actions are pretty tough, and we're doing it backwards in faith, guys. If you want your kid to love baseball, if baseball is your sport that you love, you do not come and grab this huge book and go, all right, Johnny, these are all the rules to baseball. Read this, you're going to love it. It's a great, just go ahead and read it. It's great. You're going to love baseball. That is a horrible way to evangelize baseball. You take them to a game. You sit with them, you cheer with them, you tell them what's going on. When they have questions, you go, oh yeah, well the guy walked off because he struck out. What struck out? Well, there's 3 pitches that, you start explaining things. But then the problem comes where the kid has came to 40 baseball games and still doesn't understand a strikeout and feels dumb for asking. And when we look at faith, that kind of happens. Kids have been given this knowledge. We are pouring knowledge into their brains from a fire hose. But the fire burns in their heart. And we're pouring this knowledge into them nonstop, expecting it to catch wind. That's not how we do anything else at all. But for some weird reason, we think faith is different. If we pour knowledge into your kids, they're going to get it wrong. Knowledge does not equal understanding. It never will, and it never has. The way we do youth ministry here is going to be a little bit different. I'm not saying we're not going to give your kids an education. We hope to teach them something. Education is important. Rules are important. But we're going to try to do it in a different way. We're going to try to do it through experience. An experience that we believe will be strong for your children, that your children will enjoy. So I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys are with me and like sports? Who likes sports? Raise your hand. It's okay if you like sports. If you don't sport, I'm very sorry. I'll talk to you in a different way after this gets over. But if you don't sport, I'm sorry, stick with me. If you're a fan of sports, raise your hand if you like the NFL. Raise your hand if you like the NFL. Okay, hands down. NBA, raise your hand. NBA, hands down. Major League Baseball? Couple, okay, hands down. What about IndyCar racing? IndyCar racing? NASCAR? Formula One? Yeah! Michael Schumacher fans. What about rugby? Couple. What about cricket? 1. Listen, it's no surprise to me that I don't see a lot of hands on cricket. What is a surprise to me is cricket is the world's #2 most popular sport. The world's #2 most popular, just behind soccer. Why don't people like cricket? My guess is they've never experienced it in a positive way, and they don't know what the heck they're watching. If they're like me, I know people will camp out to watch a cricket match. I have no clue why. I don't get what they're doing. Don't care to learn the rules. But I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon of the world's #2 most popular sport. That's weird. There's 2.5 billion estimated fans of cricket. That's more than there are Catholics in the world. And we still don't know the world's top cricket player. I don't know if we can collectively find that out without Google. So when you look at this, that's the lens you have to look at your kids' faith experience. Your kids see people that are excited to go to church. They don't know why. Your kids see people that are on the edge of their seats ready to pray. They don't get it. Either they haven't been given the rules, or they haven't been given a positive experience, or both of them haven't happened at the right time for it to latch on. It's no different than with sports. Our faith has to be looked at those same lens. Now, for me personally, I was a product of two parents who were devoted to their faith. And I'm not going to tell you it always works out great. I'm not going to tell you that. My mom was the DRE for one church, and then she was music director for a different one. Now, I know we have a music director in here. Being the son of a music director, my two older brothers were in college, so it was me, my dad was in the choir, and then there's my mom directing it. So I was at Mass pretty much solo. But I was lucky. I got to come to Mass an hour early. Woohoo! I got to hear all the songs like twice or 3 times. Yeah! I was so stoked to be a part of this, right? Wrong. I hated it. I would come to Mass and I was a good Catholic. I would sit in the far back left, right? Almost like 1 row up, okay? I was a good Catholic. I sat back there. I enjoyed Mass from back there. And then this interaction, this friendship happened. And I'm going to show you exactly how it happened. Maybe you guys have had this happen to you before. That was it. That was exactly how our friendship started. That was the whole relationship. For months. Yep, he's good. Yep. Turn around. We're not going to talk. We're not here to congregate. We're here to do whatever we're doing. I'm not here to get a new friend. But that's how it started. Then we had our CEOs attend. You guys met the CEOs of the church for Christmas and Easter onlys. Our CEOs attended. We had Christmas Mass at St. Ben's Catholic Church, and I walked in to my pew, and it was full. I thought, why? Is it full? Don't you know I sit there? And I thought, I'm going to have to go up further. People might see me here. And I start wandering up the aisle, dejected as all get out, and I hear Dave. And I thought, who knows me? And I turned my eyes back, and I'm gauging the crowd, and this old man flags me over. Dave, come here. Saved you a seat. I know you like it back here. Same guy I've been saying peace to, right? Well, now we're hip to hip, okay? We are sardines in this pew. Well, this is a little bit awkward. I don't really think I've ever talked to him besides saying, peace be with you. And he leans in and I don't know if you've ever had this happen. Church is so quiet, everybody's praying, and this nice old man voice goes, your mother has a beautiful voice. And I thought, oh my gosh, why is he talking to me? I should have walked to the front. Ugh. And I was so embarrassed that this man was talking to me in church. Why doesn't he know protocol? And so we get through this Mass with somewhat of my dignity. And then the next week comes, and I attend church again. And this time, our CEOs have witnessed the Mass and they're gone. And my pew is empty. But I've already sat hip to hip to this dude. I can't now break social protocol and move. I've at least got to sit in his pew. So I sit in the pew a good arm length away. We're by ourselves, maybe a sprinkling of people. And he says, your mother really does have a beautiful voice. And I'm thinking, now you know how to whisper? Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, she does. I appreciate it. She does. She's got a great voice. But I'm a teen. I don't know if you guys have them. They're a little bit moody at times. Yeah, thanks. And we start talking a little bit. He said, I've seen you serve before. You do a great job. I said, thanks. He said, do you have any activities you do? I said, I play soccer. He said, oh yeah, what do you do? And I told him about it, and then Mass starts, and I'm in the Mass, and then peace be with you, and then I left, and that was it. Fast forward to my senior year. Senior soccer night. If you guys haven't experienced senior nights, I think many people have, or at least understand them. The kids that are seniors meet their parents. at like the half line, and they give like their mom flowers, they give their dad a balloon, everybody hugs, they take a photo op, everybody acts like they like each other for like 13 seconds, and then the kids go back into the game and then do their thing, right? So we had senior night, we won our game, go us, and I go home, and I don't know if you're familiar, AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. I was really cool back in the day. I had a name. And so I go home and ignore talking to anybody in my house, run down to my AIM, and I dial in and listen to the loud music that's going on until I can finally log on, and then doo-doo-doo, you've got mail. And this was before we got mail by every person that we've ever thought about. This was random. This was nice. This was like Christmas. I thought, yes, I do have mail. People like me. Good. And I opened it up and it just said Gene Vaughn. And I thought, who's that? And it said, Dave, your senior night was awesome. I really appreciated it. Here's pictures of you holding flowers, giving them to your mom, and giving the balloons to your dad, and here's a photo. And it was from the side. It was from like the corner, like corner kick area. And he said, you played a great game. I look forward to seeing you in Mass. And I'm thinking, seeing me in Mass? And I yelled upstairs, Mom! I said, who's Gene Vaughn? And my mom, in a condescending mother tone, said, he's the dude you've been sitting by for like 8 months. Don't you talk to him? And I said, shut up, Mom, get out of my life. And I went back to the email and I responded, thank you, Gene. That was very kind of you to come. And I go to church and I see him. He didn't go to the game to give me a high five, a handshake, get a picture, or even recognize that he was there. It was a nice gesture that he sent me that email. I would have never known he was there. As my senior year went on, Mass attendance stayed regular, came to my graduation. My graduation at high school, Holman Center in Terre Haute, Indiana, and I walked across the stage. I go to the parties afterwards. I get home, log on to AIM, and you got mail. And it was Gene Vaughn again. Here's a photo of me walking across stage, and he says, if my watch was correct, at 12:36 in so many seconds, you grabbed your high school diploma. I'm so proud of you. It's been an honor and a privilege to sit by you on your faith journey. I look forward to seeing what God has in store for you. I didn't invite him to that ceremony. And I started thinking, why didn't I invite him to that? Why didn't I invite him to anything? Here's somebody who's taken a genuine interest in me, and I didn't invite him to that. And I thanked him for that. Was just very thoughtful. Thank you. Now I went off to college, University of Dayton. My first week in college. And if you've been to college, you know when you get a package in the mail, it's like awesome. This now, you are the coolest person on the floor. And I went down, I got this package in that big middle envelope, and I grab it, and I come running up, and people like, it's a parade of people following me back to my dorm room to see what Christmas presents I'm going to partake in. Maybe it's cookies, they can all take them from me. I don't know what it was going to be. And I get in, I open it up, and I pull out, and it's a book. And I went, why would I get a book? Who sent that? Who knows? Don't they know me? Why would they send me a book? And as I open the book, a bookmark falls out. It's just a piece of paper cut out that was typed, old school typed, you know? And it just said, August 17th, 2003. David, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you in your faith journey. College is an incredible opportunity. I'm praying for you, David. This book is a Desiree. This is a poem of how to live your life. I still lean on the words in this poem myself, and I hope you will too throughout life. If you look on page 2, you'll see my name in the acknowledgments. I'm very proud of that. Sincerely, Gene Vaughn. My mom called me 2 days later. Dave, I just want you to know Gene Vaughn passed away. Just want you to know he passed away. I know you were fond of him. I know he was fond of you. I don't think you can make it back to the funeral. It's on Wednesday. I'd like you to try if you could. I'll come get you if you want. I couldn't. New in college, didn't know what I was doing. If you'd have waited a day, I wouldn't have gotten that package. Who knows, if you'd have waited a moment, I wouldn't have gotten that package. I gave a talk last year to an RCIA group in Louisville, Kentucky, and I talked about evangelization, and this talk of Gene Vaughn came up. And as I shared the story about Gene Vaughn, I went and Googled his obituary. 3 paragraphs. No visitation. No next of kin. See, Gene Vaughn is the only name I have ever went into a church and wrote in the book of intentions. The only name I've ever done that. The only name I mentioned by name whenever we're doing our prayers of the faithful, and they say, for all faithfully departed. I don't know who attended his funeral. I can tell you right now, Gene Vaughn has impacted hundreds of youth in their faith because he impacted me. Gene Vaughn is not a name that many people will ever remember. He's a name I'll never forget, etched in stone. That book, the Desiderata, sits behind my desk. That bookmark I look at regularly gives me a reminder of how to do ministry. See, when we do ministry, we need to do ministry differently. We don't need to come to your kids with a book and say, memorize this, you'll love Catholicism. We don't need to do that. We need to look at ministry and walking with. Your kids, some of them are in a great state of mind right now, and some of them are hurting. I don't know if you follow your kids on social media, but I can tell you right now, a lot of kids are pretty open about their hurts. A friend of mine's name is Roy Pettifees. He's a national speaker, youth counselor, and prior youth minister. Roy gave a TED Talk that moved me deeply, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Not the whole TED Talk. You guys know a TED Talk is 15 minutes. I cut into this. It's not the whole TED Talk, but I really want you to give your utmost attention to the 8 minutes that are in here. And once this gets done, we'll continue through, okay?
Over the last 20 years, it's been my mission to work with young people, teenagers especially, and to give them the gift that those people gave me when I was in college. And it was the gift of being seen. And in my work with young people, what I've realized that what they want more than anything else is to be seen within the context of a meaningful relationship with adults. But this shocks many adults who I talk with. They're like, Roy, if teenagers want to be seen by us so much, then why do they act the way they do? Why don't they just come out and ask for it? And that's a good question. In the words of Dr. Bob McCarty, teenagers are experience-rich but language-poor. Dr. Bob McCarty's right. Teens are experience-rich and language-poor, but they do want to be seen by us in the context of a meaningful relationship. Once I was leading a small group of teens, and this 17-year-old girl who was a junior in high school spoke up. She said, Mr. Pedophile, which is what the teens often called me because they couldn't pronounce my last name, which is a bit unfortunate when you do what I do for a living. She said, I know you don't have kids, but if you did, would you and your wife fly away to Paris for 2 weeks and leave your 17-year-old daughter home alone with her black American Express card, no limit, the keys to her Land Rover in the mansion, all alone? Now, luckily, I had the wherewithal then to understand that this girl's parents were wealthy enough to be able to afford to have several attorneys on retainer, and I did not answer that question. And the budding counselor said, well, what do you think? And she said, you know I love my stuff, don't get me wrong. And she pulled the black card out and she kissed it and she was like, I love you. And she said, and I'll kill you if you tell my parents this, but I love them more. And more than any of this stuff, I just want a relationship with them. And I know I avoid them, but they also avoid me. And I don't know how to not avoid them, but I don't want them to avoid me. And I look around the circle and I see 8 heads nodding in unison, agreeing with this girl. In the last 20 years, I've heard this young 17-year-old girl's sentiments expressed in thousands of different ways, countless times from teenagers. That they want to be in our presence despite their verbal and nonverbal actions to the contrary. In addition to wanting to be in our presence, they also want the greatest gift that we can give them, which is the gift of our attention. To pay attention to them. I had an 18-year-old boy, young man, brought into my office one time who was on the verge of being suspended from a local high school because he refused to stand up after the weekly all-school assemblies and sing the school's alma mater. He was a senior in high school, and he sat on the front row, and the administration and others didn't like it because when everyone else stood up, he didn't stand up. His parents were also concerned because he was beginning to show signs of depression. And they were just worried about him. They had brought him to see 2 other counselors, and they finally decided, well, I guess we'll just try the big bald pedophile. And to say that this kid didn't want to be in my office would be the understatement of the decade. He came in with a scowl on his face, his hat on, not looking at me, and he plops down in my couch and he says, "Could we just get this over with?" And he had this accent. It was like a blend of the Bronx, Sicily, and New Orleans. And I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Chalmette," which is a town near New Orleans, which was ravaged in the floodwaters following Hurricane Katrina. And I said, "What brought you here to Lafayette, to Cajun country?" And he said, "Katrina." And I said, "Tell me about it." And he goes, "Seriously? Are my parents paying you good money for me to come in here and talk to you about current events, bald guy? Come on." I was like, "No, tell me what Katrina was like for you." And he said, "My mom called me up in the morning, and she was screaming in the phone, 'Eric, make sure whatever you want to keep for the rest of your life, go and put it in a duffel bag. And we're going to be there to pick up you and your brothers and sisters in the van. But only a duffel bag because we don't have enough room for you to bring all your crap.'" And he said, then, we went to Baton Rouge, and now we've settled here. And all my friends are back in New Orleans, and they're graduating from school this year, and I'm not. Because my parents love this God-forsaken town of Lafayette, Louisiana. And I looked at him, and he goes, "Are we done?" And I said, "Yeah, almost. I just have one question. What was in your bag?" He said, "What?" I said, "What was in your bag, Eric?" He said, "What bag?" The duffel bag that you packed and put in the van. He said, "I don't feel like talking about this crap. Can we go? Look, I know it's only half a session. I'll tell my parents we went to full time. You can collect your money." I said, "What was in your bag, Eric?" And his eyes glassed over. And he said, "My dad's football jersey." "What school did your dad go to?" He said, "Holy Cross High School in New Orleans." "What else was in your bag?" "My grandfather's high school diploma." "What school did your grandfather go to, Eric?" "Holy Cross High School in New Orleans." "What else was in your bag?" And the tears are streaming down his cheeks. "My uncles on my dad and on my mom's side, their senior ring and a state championship football." "What school did they go to?" "Holy Cross High School in New Orleans." I said, "Let me see if I'm understanding you correctly. You're about to be the first man in 4 generations of men in your family to break this unbroken legacy of men who graduate from Holy Cross High School." And he's bawling at this point. And he said, through a choked up voice, he said, "Yeah, and these bastards expect me to stand up and sing my love of their tradition? I love tradition. This school's barely 25 years old. They don't know the first thing about tradition. I sure as hell ain't standing up and singing it." And I said, "I don't blame you." And we continued to visit, and he calmed down. And we visited for a few more weeks. And I remember his parents calling me one day, and they said, "You know what? He doesn't complain about going back, and he's getting better." He said, "Roy, thank you for seeing our son." You don't have to be a psychotherapist to be able to see teenagers. You don't need to go to grad school, and you don't need a duffel bag of tricks. But you do need the willingness to be able to see teenagers. And they're desperate to be seen. As you go out of here today, I've already primed you. You're going to be seeing teens everywhere. Maybe even at Jefferson Street Pub, illegally. And you'll have the opportunity to see them or to look away. You'll have the opportunity to smile at them, what I wouldn't have given when I was a teenager for an adult to lovingly smile at me. You could go up to them and you could ask them their name. For the teens who are more close to you in your life, you could text them, send them a Snapchat. You could invite them out for coffee. You can just talk with them. It doesn't take much. But they are desperate to be seen. There's no one of us in here who can go out and see every teenager and give them that powerful gift of attention. But each and every one of us can go out of here and see a teenager. And in doing so, remove from their life this cloak of invisibility and give them the gift of our attention and the gift of being seen. I know that it will make a difference. And I know that it made a difference in my life. On behalf of all of the invisible teenagers in America today, and of myself, thank you.
If you watch the entire TED Talk from Roy, you hear his life story. It wasn't pertinent to our conversation today, but it's one that is worth looking up later. He's right. Teenagers aren't scared so much of failure. That's us. That's our parents. As a parent of young kids, anytime I see them crawl across monkey bars, they start to fall, I catch them. I don't want them to know what failure feels like. Kids aren't scared of that. They're scared of being invisible. And confirmation here at St. Louis de Montfort is going to take that approach of walking with a teen in a very visible way. We're a large parish. I don't know if you can tell. The hope is that when we come together with your teens, that given the small group dynamics of a mentor outside and small group dynamics here, that your teens will be visible. Now, he mentioned Dr. Bob McCarty, who mentions that kids are experience rich but vocabulary poor. Your kids are probably no different. You've been on a vacation, you spent like 3 years of your life looking at this vacation, planning this vacation, and you get home and you hit the airport and you hear them on the phone with their friend, and you can only understand the question to be, how was it? And your teen goes, it was good. And you're like, what? And ready to choke them after this week of love that you shared with them, because their vocabulary is lacking to explain their experience. What I've found to be true is adults are also experience rich, but vocabulary poor. We have experiences that we want to share with our kids, but out of fear of failure or fear of something, we just don't. Maybe it's the fear of trying to learn the language. We decide not to talk to them. Teens, yes, they stop listening. I know that. But they never stop hearing. They never stop hearing. This process has got to be an all-in with both of us together. The mentors are great individuals. The mentors will be given packets to go over these lessons with the kids. Instead of taking 70 kids and having one person teach it and somebody being in the corner not able to speak, the mentors will take with the teens a group of 3 or a group of 4, and they'll go over making sure that each teen has a vocabulary of this experience. But the teens are going to be asked to come home and share things with you, and it's got to be you that buys into this too. You've got to buy into this some way, shape, or form. You've got to treat this through the lens of those athletic endeavors where you're all in. You've got to ask them about things. You've got to talk to them about things. And at times you think, I don't even know if I can do that. I don't know this myself. Then take the journey with us. When we have large group sharings, there's only 3 of them. When we have these 3 large group meetings, I'm going to ask that the parents come with your teen. I get it that your teen is going to be like, Mom, Dad, stay in the car. Come on, please don't all right, you come in 5 minutes after me. Just don't let anybody know we're related. I get that might be how your teen acts. I don't care. We're going to do a large group session together, and we're going to send the teens out in small groups with amazing leaders. And I want you to stay with me. I want you to stay with me. I want to talk. I just want to see how you're doing. I want to help you. I want to help you because I imagine the journey walking with a teenager in faith is a lot like this last clip we're going to show you. Has anybody seen the football movie Facing the Giants? It's a great movie. Best part in this whole movie is right here. I'm going to ask you just for a brief moment to look up and imagine what character you relate to. And when it ends, I'll come back to you, okay? This process might seem grueling to you. It's not just this year. You might say, okay, I can make it to the 20. Not asking to make it to the 20. I'm asking you to walk blindfolded because you might give up. You might give up when you've reached a point that was, in your mind, successful. This is a lifelong journey with your kid. This is not a graduation from the church. And it might seem grueling to you because you're Brock. And you've got to carry a 160-pound kid on your back. And the great part about being a parent is you are the most influential person in their life. And if you walk around dejected, they will too. If you come into church dejected, they will be too. If you're not praying, they won't be. Why in the heck would I want to join that religion? It makes mom and dad miserable. If you don't understand this faith, they won't care to learn. But you've got to blindfold yourself. You've got to trust in God. You've got to trust that this is worth it, that this will bring you joy in a time where maybe you don't see joy. Trust me. I never wanted to work for the church. I looked at it as a painful experience being a member of that. And now I can't imagine doing anything else. Blindfold yourself during this process and be all in. Even when it burns. Negotiate with your body, you find more strength, but the kids need you. They need you. We need you. We started with some wisdom from Mother Teresa. We're going to end with some as well. For those who know Mother Teresa's story, you'll know that she walked for 1 year with Christ, the very beginning, and then was very much empty for the rest of her life. And when asked, how does she do what she does? She said, my secret is simple. I pray. My secret is simple. I pray. I'm going to ask you if you don't have a prayer life to start, because you're going to need it. If life is great, that's awesome. I really am appreciative that you're in a good spot. Life isn't always going to be rainbows and unicorns. Just like in sports, we need to work through those valleys to get back up to the peak. And I believe that our faith community can help you. I believe that we as a parish staff are strong. We're not here to desert you. You saw at the very beginning we gave you a piece of paper. It has adults on one side. Please take that with you. Hang it on your fridge. Think about experiences. If you and your wife have never gone to a marriage encounter, anything for the church, come to the free food and free babysitting that we're offering. Show your kid that this is important. If you have never went on a retreat, yet you're encouraging your kid to go on theirs, show by example. Go on a retreat. If you've already been on church and need to find something else, call me. We'll help you. We're here to walk with you. Because when we know the journey gets hard, we also believe that we have a great, loving, compassionate God screaming in our ears that we're almost there. Just keep pushing. Keep going. Give them your best, your very best. And at the end, when we take that blindfold off and we're in the end zone, our kids are a little bit further on their journey too. Thank you guys for starting the process today. This is a continued process I hope to walk with you for many, many, many years. Let's end with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Good and gracious God, we thank you for the opportunity to lead these influential youth of our community and our parish. We ask for your wisdom when we're weak. We ask for your strength. Lord, help our thoughts to be your thoughts, our words to be your words. Help us to get out of our own way, Lord, as we try to get our children further on the journey that we believe is the most important journey they'll take. We ask for all the prayers that are held in the hearts of each and every person here today. All the prayers of our family members be lifted up to you. And we thank you for everything you've given us. Be with us, Lord. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you guys for being here tonight. If you have any questions, stick around. Matt and I will help you out with that.